and that's why it's done in several different parts. The Black Ops 2 is home to some of the most iconic maps in zombies history. And while Mob of the Dead and Origins are probably considered the two favourite maps of the zombies community, the very first map I would be starting off on would be Tranzit, which is probably considered one of the worst maps by the entire zombies community. And the reason for this is that many people have this preconception that the jet gun is one of the worst wonder weapons that's ever been created. But in this section, not only am I going to show you that the jet gun is nowhere near close to the worst wonder weapon, I'm going to be showing you that it's one of the best wonder weapons that they've ever created. But to start things off, there is something a little bit different on BO2 that I would be doing compared to the entirety of BO1. So each individual game has its own kind of record community, in which the people that play the game a lot basically determine the rules of the game. So on Black Ops 1, for example, first box patch isn't allowed, but on Black Ops 2, for speedruns, first box patch is allowed. And so this is probably the first major change that I would be using on Black Ops 2 in order to play my games out. And what a first box patch does on Black Ops 2 is you can basically set the box to give you whatever weapon you want for the first 10 rounds or so, allowing me to pretty much get the Mark II immediately on every map I play. And because I was only going to round 100, it's not really classed as a high round, and more so as a round 100 speedrun. And this is because the high round portion of the Black Ops 2 community doesn't allow the first box patch. But anyway, I would start off Transit much like pretty much every other map I've played to this point, which is I would buy the M14 off of the wall, and I would stay in the first room until about the end of round 4, in which I would then have a built turbine and exit the area via using the turbine. Something else to mention though is I'd be restarting for this roof part spawn for the bus inside this first little area here, as this is going to be very important very soon. So after I've picked up the part, I'll then get on the bus and basically make my way through to diner. And once I arrive at the diner, I'll then open up the door and attach the part to this portion of the diner so I could get on top of the roof and buy the galvanicles. And now galvanicles are essential for the strategy, so if you are planning on doing this, you want to make sure you pick these up. Now on top of this, I would also use the turbine in order to power up Speed Cola just so I can buy it, even though I won't really be able to use it until I switch the power on. And then I would also hit the box in order to get the Mark II and EMPs. And once I'd done this, the bus would have moved by this point, so I would have to manually make my way all the way over to the power area. Now, something I should mention is I am using permaperks, so this means I would be using permajug, which makes me a 4-hit down from the start of the game. And then once I eventually buy Juggernog, I would then be a 6-hit down. But once I'd made my way through to power, I would play a couple of rounds there, build the power, and then I would actually place my turbine down in the hopes that I would be able to get Pack-a-Punch done immediately. And then I would switch the power on, kind of forgetting that I can't open this little shutter without the power being completely on first. But I still decided, screw it, I'm going to run as fast as I possibly can to town to see if I can get to Pack-a-Punch on my very first turbine. And to my surprise, I actually managed to do it. What the fuck? I actually did it first try, what the fuck? And I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever managed to get into Pack-a-Punch on my very first turbine. I think my first turbine is always broken, so this was absolutely insane to me. So now that I'd pack-a-punched my Mark II and my M1911 to make the Mustang and Sally, I would then buy Juggernog and Stamina up, and then begin to run around the map looking for the other parts of the jet gun. Now, this is an incredibly tedious process, no disputing that. It's probably one of the worst buildables in the game, just because of how long it takes to get all the parts. And to be honest, it's not even just getting the parts, it's the fact that you can only carry one part at a time, and it's just ridiculous. Also, alongside getting these parts for the jet gun, I would also be getting the parts to attach to the bus to make it go around the map a little bit faster. But honestly, this kind of backfired on me in the later rounds, but we'll get onto that later. But finally, on round 23, I had gotten all the parts for the bus and all the parts for the jet gun, and it was finally time to start the lower round strategy at the farm area. Now, in order to run this strategy, all you need is the farm door closed, and to just kind of run back and forth, shooting the Mark II as you go around. And that's literally it. Now, the spawns can sometimes get a little bit hectic, but overall, it's actually a pretty nice strategy to run. And yeah, it's just so much faster using a Mark II than if you don't have a Mark II. And this is because you can keep killing pretty effectively with the Mark II up until like round 65. It's really insane. So after round 65 though, how was I gonna kill? Well, the answer to that is pretty obvious. It's just by using the jet gun. Now, I will say, if you use the jet gun just normally and you let it overheat and break, then yes, this wonder weapon is probably one of the worst. However, in combination with the Galvanucles, there's a really nice little bit of tech here that you can do in order to make the jet gun pretty much one of the best wonder weapons in the game. So in order to do this, you just have to punch the air, and then as you see the animation of the jet gun being pulled out, you want to hold down your right trigger or whatever it is to shoot the jet gun until you basically get one tick of the jet gun kind of thing, and you'll see you'll get about 3 kills with it, and then you want to immediately punch again and then keep doing the same kind of loop, you know, punch the air, hold to shoot, punch the air, hold to shoot, and you'll be able to kill 3 zombies maximum at a time per tick of the jet gun. And something pretty cool, if you didn't know, is you can actually kill with the back of the jet gun, which is what I do just because I'm more comfortable doing this. I think it makes it a little bit safer. But yeah, the reason this is so good is because if you do it correctly, the jet gun won't actually overheat. It'll pretty much just stay at the same level, and it'll actually decrease over time, meaning every now and then you'll be able to just spray the jet gun into the horde, killing about, I think it's about 21 zombies. So yeah, from round 65 onwards, I would just be going to either end of the farm, basically using the jet gun to kill the zombies behind me, and this is basically how I played the entire game. Oh, but something quite important to note is using Mustang and Sally on insta-kills speeds up the game massively. It is so good to use. Because the zombies only come from like 3 major locations. There's like, I think 5 ground spawns or something. But because 2 of the ground spawns are close to each other on 2 different sides, it's basically like a 3 spawn in a way. And so on insta-kills, I would horde up the zombies, chuck a Semtex to the ground, and then basically spray the ground spawns with the Mustang and Sally. And this just speeds up the game immensely. It is unbelievable how much time this saves. Now, unfortunately, I do end up taking it down on round 71, and this was just carelessness really from me. I think I lost some momentum because I jumped, and that basically allowed the zombies to slap the shit out of me really. And yeah, unfortunately, took my first down around 71. This pretty much meant I lost my perma-jug, but I keep all my perks because I have perma perks on. So the only perk I had to go back and buy was Quick Revive. So once I'd bought Quick Revive, I'd basically go back to running the strategy again. And unfortunately on round 82, after some very poor decision making, I end up taking another down. And now this time I do the smart thing, and I wait until I'm at the end of the round before I go back and buy quick revive, and this is because I have something called perfect drops. And perfect drops is just where you get one of each of the main drops every single round. So this is double points, nuke, insta kill, and max ammo. And I got incredibly lucky the first time I went and bought quick revive, because you actually activate carpenters by going around the entire map if they all break through the barriers. Thankfully this didn't happen, so I didn't activate carpenters and I still had my perfect drop cycle. But yeah, but it was okay. I took my second down around 82. I only had 18 rounds left, which is still a very long time, but unfortunately I do take my third down, and the last down I would be able to take in this game, on round 94, and I started getting flashbacks to Black Ops 1 Verrückt. Now this final down was kinda bullshit in my opinion. My camera view kinda just changed while I was on top of the bus, throwing me off a bit, and then as I dropped down into like a few zombies, and they basically will slap me. But yeah, at this point I just had to play safer. So in order to just play safer running this strategy, you want to just kill about 3 sets of zombies each side. So you're killing about 9 zombies per side that you're on, instead of doing like maybe 12 or 15, maybe even 18. And so that's what I did, and it worked out perfectly, and I got to round 100 in only 8 hours and 34 minutes. And this was my first attempt to pass round 50, which was absolutely incredible. So now that the hardest map on Black Ops 2 was out of the way with for round 100, it was time for me to go over to Die Rise. I'm dead, I can't get out of here. Not alive. I can't believe this, dude. Die Rise is quite a nostalgic map for me, as this is pretty much the map that kind of got me into the record community, and that's because this is the map I used to speedrun back in about 2015, and I was actually the first person to ever manage to get to round 100 in under 3 hours on this map, and in the Black Ops Zombies series in general. So this map has held quite a few fond memories for me, and although the speedrun has been pushed probably far beyond my capabilities now, I thought I'd still give it a go and see how fast I could actually get to round 100. So with this map, things start off a little bit differently. You actually leave the spawn room on round 1 to drop down the elevator, and then I would chuck 2 grenades, one in this window and one in the far back window over there. And then if any zombies spawn from the other windows, I would just shoot them in the head with the M1911, and once the round had ended, I would then pick up the AN-94 pack-a-punched from the fridge. After this, I would then go to the bank and pull out about 20,000 points, and then pick up the part spawn for the Sliquify if it was there, and make my way into the power room. And this is where you'd pretty much restart if you had more than 2 part spawns at the top floor on Die Rise, like in the power room. And this is because if you do have 2 part spawns up top, I don't believe you can switch the power on and then get on the elevator fast enough on the first cycle. You'd probably have to wait until the second cycle. Also, under normal circumstances, I would probably restart for at least double tap or juggernog from one of the perk machines. I did actually end up getting double tap in this one, but it was the one that was going down first, so I didn't actually manage to get it. But anyway, I had restarted for this, and thankfully there was only 1 part spawn up top, which allowed me to continue. So I would get all the part spawns for the Sliquify, build the Sliquify, and make my way up onto the elevator. Then once I was at the top on the roof, I would then buy claymores and basically make my way to the very top of the roof, waiting for any zombie spawns to spawn. And I got some pretty good spawns, so at this point I just had to do round 3 over at the Who's Who or Speed Cola area, and then after I'd done this, I would make my way down to the 1 spawn in the elevator shaft. Now unfortunately my perk machines weren't that great, as I was only able to get Mule Kick and Who's Who, but I still grabbed them anyway, just so I would have a higher chance of getting a double tap or juggernog from one of the perks from a jumping jack round. So for those of you who don't know, on the jumping jack rounds, you can actually get a free perk if you do not miss any bullets on the jumping jacks. And one of the easiest ways to do this is by stacking claymores and basically using those claymores on the jumping jack round in order to get yourself a free perk. But I'd kind of forgot that you needed to do this, and so for my first jumping jack round, I basically was shooting one pack-a-punched AN-94 bullet at each individual jumping jack, and thankfully I didn't miss, so I ended up getting Jug as my first perk, which was amazing. So as time went past, I kept using my claymores on these frog rounds, and eventually I managed to get double tap, speed cola, and quick revive from the frogs. And I was pretty much set up at this point because I had the Slicrifier and the pack-a-punched AN-94. Now unfortunately I didn't last very long up at the 1 spawn. I ran out of ammo in my AN-94 on around 25. I had to switch to my Slicrifier, and this basically meant I had to drop down to the 2 spawn. Unfortunately though, I should have dropped down a little bit sooner, as one of my zombies pretty much slipped off the edge and ended up having to respawn, costing me about 1 minute and 20 seconds. And that 1 minute is actually quite a lot of time when you consider just either a 30, 50 or even round 100 speedrun on Die Rise. But even with the blunder, I still managed to make it to round 50 in just 51 minutes and 58 seconds, which is actually one of my better times on the map. Now, because my goal isn't really to do around 100 as fast as I possibly can, and it's just to make sure that I can get the round 100 pretty much as safely as possible so I can get it on my first attempt, I wasn't running the speedrun strategy for the round 100 speedrun. What I would be doing instead is sitting in this little room and shooting a Slicrifier shot down on the ground where they drop down behind me, and then shooting a Slicrifier shot in the doorway where they slide down from the top area. And then to speed things up, when I had the extra ammo, I would then shoot an extra shot up at where they come out from the window at the top, and this was just to start another chain with the Slicrifier. And in this game, I actually got insanely lucky because I managed to get myself onto a perfect drop cycle, and this meant I got an insta-kill and max ammo every single round without fail, and it just helped me out quite a lot. And so when I had an insta-kill drop, I would basically switch to my AN-94 and force my way up to the upper level spawn, trying to stay there if I could, if there weren't any Slicrifier shots on the ground, and basically shoot both spawns with the AN-94 just until about 2 to 3 seconds before the insta-kill ran out, in which I would switch back to my Slicrifier and shoot my shots on the ground just so I didn't get overrun. And something that's quite important to note that some people might not know about the Slicrifier is that in order for the Slicrifier to keep chaining onto zombies, you have to have the Slicrifier out as the weapon in front of you that you're using. You cannot have it stored away, as if you do this, then the chain will basically stop and you'll basically have to shoot another shot in order for the chain to continue. So as I'm in this little corner over here, I would basically be shooting 1 or 2 Slicrifier shots, keeping it out in front of me, waiting another like 10 to 15 seconds in order to shoot another shot or another 2 shots, and that's pretty much all I did for the entire round 100 here. And I managed to get to round 100 on my first attempt past round 50 in 2 hours and 55 minutes and 30 seconds, and this meant if I'd have actually gotten an extra frog round in my run here, I think I would have actually gotten a PB time to round 100, which would have been incredible, but it doesn't matter. Sub 3 hours is still a really good time for me. So next up is one of the fan favorites, Mob of the Dead. And I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with this map, mainly because I've got 2 round 200s on this map. Both of them being pretty boring after a while, more so the second one than the first one though. So I wasn't particularly looking forward to playing this map, at least to begin with. But I'll start the map off in much the same fashion as most of the other maps, where I would play in the spawn room and kill with the M14 until the end of round 3. Then I would leave the first room at the end of round 3. But just before round 4 begins, I would go into Afterlife and shock the generator in order to drop the key down, and then also shock the little power thing next to the double points by the MP5. And so for round 4, I would pick up the key and then pick up the double points and use the double points in order to get enough points to open up the cafeteria door, and also enough points to hit the box a couple of times so I could get my Mark II and Blundergat. And I would also buy claymores since they're there. I would then clear round 5 at the back of the cafeteria and then open up the door in the cafeteria room itself in order to get up into the infirmary to start on the first dog. Then once I'd fed the dog enough zombies, I would then go into Afterlife and shock the door open at the top and then make my way back down through the cafeteria. Now normally I wouldn't open the gate running from the MP5 area leading to the next dog because it actually interferes with the strategy that I would normally run. But in this game I was just going to run the stair strategy instead of just the regular cafeteria strategy, as the stair strategy is slightly faster. So I opened up to the next dog, fed the next dog, and then at the end of the round I would go into Afterlife, shock the area in order to open up to Speed Cola, and then also shock the double points at the other end of the room. I would then clear out the next round in the warden's office just to speed things up a little bit, and then I would make my way up to the gondola area, shock the gondola to power it on, and also shock Electric Cherry to power that on. So after travelling down the gondola, I would then switch on Juggernog by going into Afterlife, and I would also make my way down the stairs to where one of the plane parts is behind the gate and shock the little power thing behind it by jumping up. After this, I would buy Juggernog and drop down in order to feed the third and final dog. While I was down here, I would also be collecting the shield parts and the plane parts for Pack-a-Punch. And also on round 10, after I had fed the dog, I would then be shocking the 3 generators in order to deactivate the electrification of the gate in the warden's office. After this, I would make my way all the way up into the laundry room, where I would then start getting kills with the Tomahawk. And I would only be killing with the Tomahawk until I heard the little swish sound that you get whenever you get enough kills, and this signifies the beginning of the upgrade process for the Tomahawk itself. So once I'd done the laundry machine, I would then make my way down to the spiral staircase, go into Afterlife and shock in the numbers in order to get one of the final parts of the plane. And after this, I would make my way back up the gondola in order to go into the warden's office to end the round, and also get the other parts I was missing for the Acid Gat upgrade for the Blundergat, and also to get the final part for the plane, of course. And so on round 14, I went and built the shield in the cafeteria, and I also built the Acid Gat just on the stairway next to Electric Cherry. I upgraded my Blundergat, and then I pretty much just went on the plane. So for those of you who don't know, you don't actually have to only use the Tomahawk for both of the rounds that you're on the bridge. You can actually shoot any zombies on the very first round, and then on the second round you can shoot the wardens to get rid of them, and then you can just use the Tomahawk only. And that's exactly what I did, and at the end of round 15 I got the noise to signify that I had completed the upgrade steps for the Tomahawk. And so after I'd Pack-a-Punched my Mark II and my Acid Gat, I went back to the spawn room and threw my Tomahawk into the little fire pit underneath the second dog location. Then I would run over to Speed Cola, play in the warden's office and buy Speed Cola until the end of the round. Then I would run up to the gondola, and as I was passing it, I would grab Electric Cherry. And then after traversing the gondola down once more, I would be camping at the gate area where I got one of the parts for the plane. This would only be for one round though, as at the end of the round I would make my way up this spiral staircase and get the upgraded tomahawk. And finally, after all of this, I was finally fully set up and ready to camp the early rounds at double tap. So from about rounds 20 to 33 or so, I'd be basically using the ray gun Mark II mainly in order to kill the zombies, switching between each windows. And then on insta kills, I would be using the acid gat in order to basically help the rounds go by a little bit faster. And in order to save some Mark II ammo, as the acid gat has these little explosions, which is obviously going to be better on insta kills. However, from rounds 33 onwards, it becomes quite difficult to actually just go between both windows using the Mark II. And so for the most part, I would be camping in the room with the door that leads up to the warden's office. At least I'd be doing this until I got my drops, and when I get an insta kill, for example, I would then force out of the room by using the acid gat after picking up the insta kill, and shoot both windows with the acid gat while the insta kill is active in order to maximize my kills. And I'd say you can probably do this quite comfortably all the way up until 45 to 50, and that's kind of like regardless of your drop cycle, or if you manage to get your drops, you should be pretty much okay to do it at least until 45, even without getting a lot of drops. However, on rounds 50 plus, it becomes quite difficult to even camp there anymore, because the Mark II is getting a little bit weaker, and so you have to start using the tomahawk in between using Mark II bursts, and potentially even using some acid gat in order to get out of some tricky situations. And so I'll be honest, I was very surprised when I managed to camp all the way until 57 without even downing once. Like, it was incredible. I had a great run, but yeah, unfortunately I did go down around 57. And the way it happened is, as I was training the zombies around using bursts of the Mark II to kill, I got an unexpected spawn from the window that I didn't really see because I was at the back of the room, and yeah, I just ended up taking down from that. But then also, just as unexpected, I ended up taking a second down immediately after, because obviously I don't have any perks at this point, and that's because I had one zombie running from the window that was just in front of the pillar, but then there was also one behind the pillar that snuck in a little slap, causing me to go down. But that was completely fine. At this point, I was done with the early round camping. It was a fantastic run. Honestly, I think this is one of the best games of Mob I've actually played for the early rounds, which is incredible. I had such a good time doing this as well. I had a blast doing it. It was really fun. So the very quick recovery at the beginning here was to just buy Juggernog, go up the gondola, and take Electric Cherry, and then start running the high round strategy. Now, this strategy is fairly simple. It's not too complex, but it does have some situations where you could very easily go down if you're not playing too careful. So in order to start off the rounds, you want to start at the back of the cafeteria. Now, this is actually quite an interesting little bit of spawn control, because if you stand at the very back of the cafeteria, all the zombies will only spawn out of the 3 windows in the cafeteria, and they won't spawn anywhere else. So once you've started there, you want to make your way to the trap, and then switch the trap on before going through the doorway, and basically keeping yourself hidden behind the trap in the doorway, and sitting on the stairs. Now, the stair strat, back when it was first kind of discovered, or kind of rediscovered, if you will, was actually quite controversial. And this is because in order to run the stair strategy, you actually going to be running a kind of pile-up glitch. Because as you can see at the side when I'm on the stairs, the zombies will actually just kind of clump over to me without being able to hit me, instead of pathing down the stairs. And so there was a bit of a discussion, like this was many years ago now, whether this strategy should be allowed, and ultimately it has been allowed by the high round community. But anyway, these zombies will generally get stuck on the stairs. Sometimes they will make it down, but by that point you should have your tomahawk ready. And the best thing about the upgraded tomahawk is you only have to charge it up like once so that there's that one little blue ring around you. And once that shows up, you can then throw it, and it will kill up to 6 zombies. And just to point out, there is absolutely no benefit of charging it up more than once, because it doesn't reach any more zombies. So there is literally no point in charging it up more than once. And then once the trap is off, you want to make your way down through the doorway and head back over to the back of the cafeteria while using your tomahawk whenever it's available. And you basically just want to do a little cutback at the back of the cafeteria here, basically for the spawn control, so that the zombies mainly spawn at the back of the cafeteria. And then by the time you make your way back around after doing the cutback by the shield, the trap should be ready again to use. And the trap timings for this trap is quite simple. It should be about 25 seconds on and 25 seconds off. And that's pretty much the strategy I would run for the entire game. So at the end of round 57, I decided to buy Speed Collar and Double Tap. And this is kind of the only time I was planning on buying it, really. Because if I'd have kept downing a bunch, it wouldn't be worth me getting Speed Collar and Double Tap. And I would have just stayed with Juggernog and Electric Cherry, because those are the more worthwhile perks to have. So at the end of round 57, I bought them, and then I was running the high round strategy. But a couple of things to mention with this strategy is sometimes you will get the occasional walking zombie come down the stairs as you switch the trap on. And if that happens, the best thing you can do is run outside of the cafeteria by the MP5, because you do have just enough time to make it through the trap before it hits you a second time. It will damage you the first time, which will leave you as 2 hit down to zombies afterwards. But other than that, it will save your life. I guess one last thing to mention with this strategy though would be when I did get an insta-kill from the drops from the Tomahawk, I would basically be using them at the back of the cafeteria. Again, for the spawn control, this would be the fastest way to use the insta-kills while running this strat. So going back to the game, I was actually playing pretty well in this game, like I mentioned before, but unfortunately on round 67, I got incredibly unlucky. Because after I had switched the acid trap on, there was a walker coming down the stairs which blocked me off. And then as I was running towards the gate, there was actually 2 more walkers at the gate. I would have made it through, except there was a sprinting zombie that was a little bit further behind that just about managed to cut me off. Yeah, just really unfortunate down there. But it does give me an opportunity to talk about how to recover taking it down on Mob of the Dead. Because all I would do is I would train back at the back of the cafeteria, because I would probably need a shield. And after I get a new shield, I would then basically run through the little gate area back towards where the second dog was again, so the B2-3R. Then I would run up the stairs. If it was safe to do so, I would grab Electric Cherry. If not, I would just go straight down the gondola to Juggernog. I would then buy Juggernog and then either immediately run back to the gondola and make my way that way, especially if I have acid gas ammo. But if not, you can just like walk around the slow way through the gate and then down at the bottom and then go up the stairs. In my case, I just bought Jug and ran straight back to the gondola. Went back up the gondola and bought Electric Cherry. And then I would run all the way back along the catwalk, back down to the cafeteria, and either switch the trap on or stand at the back of the cafeteria to try and despawn and respawn the zombies. And I did have a lot of close calls in this game, but other than that third down on round 67, I actually didn't take any more downs on Mob of the Dead, which was very surprising for me. Because in most of my other attempts on this map, I think I've taken like 10 or more downs to 100 because I've been trying to play faster, but ultimately trying to play faster has made me slower because of the amount of downs I've taken. So yeah, thanks to not going down that much, I actually managed to get to round 100 in 8 hours and 20 minutes, which I think is actually my fastest round 100 on Mob of the Dead, which is amazing. And I also did it on my first attempt on the map, which is also just absolutely incredible. And so I was pretty much going over to Buried feeling quite confident. What is occurring, man? Now, Buried is one of those maps where when you first look at it, and you look at the strategy, you think, there's actually not that much that goes into this map. But honestly, there's more than you might think. And I'm going to say this right now, this is probably the worst game of Buried I think I might have ever played. And you'll see why in this video. So just immediately after I've spawned in, I would basically drop down the hole and stay in this little kind of cubby area, because this controls the spawn so that there's actually only 2 spawns where the zombies will come out of. And after finishing round 1, I would just immediately drop down to the B2 3R and stay there for like another 4 or 5 rounds. Then at the end of round 5, I would then get the paralyzer from the box, buy a mule kick, and then get the Mark II as my mule kick weapon. I would then let out Leroy and get him to open up Juggernog for me. And this is where it becomes really useful, because I would get a part for the subsurface resonator and place that just up the top by Juggernog, and then I would take a part for the turbine and place that at the buildable in the courtroom, and then I'd get a piece of candy and have Leroy chase me for it. And then when I'm by the buildable table for both of these buildables, I would then let him eat the candy, and he will then figure out the rest of the parts he needs to get in order to build these buildables. And this just saves me a bunch of time from having to do it myself and just get Leroy to do it for me. It's pretty cool. Anyway, once I'd done this, I would buy a speed cola, and then I would make my way through the witch's house, and I would buy double tap. And this is just to make sure I've got 4 perks, so that when I kill the rest of the witches, I will actually get a perk bottle, and it will be a 5th perk. Now what I'm looking for here would be Stamina Up and Quick Revive. I don't particularly want Vulture Aid, and thankfully as my first perk I get Quick Revive. Now I personally prefer Monkey Bombs, so I didn't really bother going for the Time Bomb, because I can't be asked to like get the Time Bomb then trade it out for Monkey Bombs afterwards. It's too much hassle for me. So I just went with Monkey Bombs and went back through the Witch's Hut 2 more times during this game. But anyway, after I've made it through the Witch's Hut and got my free perk, I would then go to Pack-a-Punch and Pack-a-Punch my M1911, my Paralyzer and my Mark II. And then I would end the round at Pack-a-Punch, and then afterwards I would make my way back through the Witch's Hut. And I could pretty much just start running the early round strategy, which is all the way past Speed Cola and into the tunnel on the right hand side. And as long as you're in this tunnel area, the zombies will only spawn from these 2 locations. There's a ground spawn just in the middle area there, and then there's also a couple of ground spawns just at the back of the barrier. And so for the early rounds, I would just be using my Mustang and Sally in the window, and then PhD flopping down, because PhD flopper is a perma perk on Buried. And I was pretty much comfortable to do this all the way until the mid-20s, maybe early 30s. And just at the end of a couple of these early rounds, after about 4 or 5 rounds after I'd been to the Witch's Hut, I would then go back there in order to get another free perk. Unfortunately, I did get Vulture Aid before Stamina Up, which meant I had to go back again, but that was okay. Because, I'll be honest, I forgot how good Vulture Aid can kind of be for camping. Although it kind of slows it down in a way, it does give you some extra ammo every now and then, which is quite nice. And so what I'd be doing from rounds 30 onwards is I'd be pretty much sitting at the back of the tunnel here and using the Mark II in order to try and get some drops. And then if I got an insta-kill, it would be brilliant, because I would be shooting at both of the ground spawns with the Mustang and Sally. And it was super quick, to be honest. And things had honestly gone pretty well all the way until round 41, in which I ended up unfortunately taking my first down. And this is because I had gone into Vulture Aid too much and forgotten about some of the zombies that were behind me. And so as I was moving backwards, as I was coming out of Vulture Aid, a zombie crept up behind me and trapped me, and I was dead. I'll be honest, I've got absolutely no idea how I didn't die after getting revived. Like, this was an insanely lucky escape here, but yeah. We definitely take those. But at this point, I was completely out of ammo and monkey bombs, so I wanted to get some monkey bombs back. Now, there's obviously 2 ways you can get them back. First way is with a max ammo, and the second way is by trading them in the box. But this allows me to show off another one of Leroy's pretty cool tricks. So if you have the Galvanuckles and you punch this little thing down in the bank, you can actually deposit money to become a points drop. Now, a lot of you guys probably know this from probably duplicating money back in the day. It was a very common thing to do with the time bomb. But what you might not know is if you leave the point drop there, you get some candy for Leroy, and you give the candy to Leroy when he's near the points drop, he will actually magically transform the 1000 points you deposited here into a random drop. And so I would basically do this until I managed to get a max ammo, and I magically had more monkeys and more ammo, and it was great. And also on round 42, I did go back through the witch's hut in order to get my quick revive back. And then since I had some more ammo, I would then go back up to the camping spot, the early round spot, in order to just do a few more rounds there if I could. And I did manage to stay here until the end of round 48. So at the beginning of 49, I would get myself a turbine and begin to camp at Juggernog. And this is the strategy I would be doing until the end of the game, which is I would get a turbine and I would place down a subsurface resonator. Then once the subsurface resonator had been destroyed, I would then boost myself up with the paralyzer, grab a new subsurface resonator, and pretty much repeat. And I would keep doing this until the wing of the turbine went from vertical to horizontal. Because what that meant is that the turbine was beginning to break, and it would periodically shut off power for a bit and then bring it back on. Now what I would do instead of just like hopping up and down until it came back on, I would actually pick up the turbine and place it up top, allowing the zombies to break it. And pretty much as the zombies were distracted and breaking the turbine, I would then boost myself up and over to Speed Cola, drop down to grab another turbine, jump back up with the paralyzer, and jump across and place the turbine back down. Then jump up back to the top of Juggernog where I place the subsurface resonator, pick up a subsurface resonator, drop back down and place the subsurface resonator there, and repeat the process. And this is pretty much the entire strategy. There was a little thing that caught me off guard, and it actually led to me downing once or twice in this game. And this is why I say it was the worst game of Buried I've ever played, by the way. And the whole reason I downed is because normally when the subsurface resonator breaks, you'll see a little blue sparks like flying around on the subsurface resonator itself to indicate that it has been destroyed. But what would happen sometimes, and I don't know if this is just exclusive to Plutonium, because I don't remember getting it on Redacted, what would happen is the subsurface resonator would just disappear. It would just be there and then poof, gone. There was no indication that it was going to disappear at all. And this little graphical error actually caused me to take it down on round 96 because I just wasn't expecting it. But just to make sure that I did get Buried done and that I didn't have to replay it like I did on Verrucht, I made sure to get Quick Revive back from the Witch's Hut, and on round 97 I had Quick Revive again, and I managed to play all the way through to 100 without taking another down, and Buried was completed. Nice.
Whoa, dude, what the fuck?
It was like a month into it. Yeah, it was like a month into it. The first 115 was this.
And so it was finally time for the map I had actually dreaded the most because of how much shit can go wrong, and that is Origins. So I would start off Origins in the exact same way as, again, most of the other maps I've played, which is get the M14, use the M14 in the first room until about round 3 or 4, and then on Origins I would leave at the end of round 4 in order to dig up some dig sites when it was snowing in order to try and get an ice staff piece very early on. Something else to note is that I would be getting the Mark II monkeys and the War Machine out of the box. Now the War Machine is going to be very useful later on. As for the Mark II, it absolutely shreds through the Panzer like no tomorrow, so that's why I'd get the Mark II out of the box on this map. Not to mention, it is literally just the best weapon for like the early rounds. But anyway, on round 5, I would get the shield part from Gen 2. And on round 6, I would get the shield part from Gen 3. And then I would stay at Gen 3 for a little bit in order to get enough points to move over to Gen 4 so I could buy Juggernog. And at this point, I just needed to play it all the way until round 10 so that I could get the snow again to get the other ice staff parts. Because the ice staff is going to be the main staff I'm going to be using in order to get to round 100 here. Luckily as well, I did manage to get one of the parts for the wind staff on round 10, being the church foot, as the wind staff is going to be quite important for if I need ammo later on. So after getting all the ice staff parts, I'd make my way to the center by Pack-a-Punch and make my way down in order to grab the gramophone and set all the little spinning things to say, you know, blues for the ice staff. And after I'd done this, I spotted that the robot for the Gen 2 and Gen 3 feet part for the wind staff was actually coming down, so I decided to go and get another wind staff piece. Then on round 14, I switched my final generator on, generator 6, and went through the ice tunnel in order to get the ice staff part. And at this point, as I was just digging around in order to get the golden shovel, I went back up to the mound and basically crafted my ice staff at the bottom of the excavation. Then after I'd done this, I made my way through the wind staff tunnel and got the part for the wind staff. Not only this, but I also did the code for the ice staff. And as I was making my way around the map shooting all these stones with the ice staff, I actually got the final robot foot I needed in order to fully craft the wind staff. And once I'd shot all the stones with the ice staff, I had to then trade the ice staff out because I had the war machine and the Mark II, and then I had to use the MP40 in order to just shoot the stones because you can't actually shoot the stones with either the war machine or the Mark II. Once I'd done this, I then just made sure all the generators were back on so I could Pack-a-Punch my Mark II and the war machine. And then I went back down to pick up my ice staff that would be in my mule kick slot and shoot the blue orb. After I'd shot the blue orb, I would then switch all the switches to yellow for the wind staff because that's the next staff I would be upgrading. And then I went ahead and just placed my ice staff down in the upgrade podium and then went back up and out to build the wind staff. Now this was just to save some time with not having to go back and grab the ice staff after I'd built the wind staff and all that kind of stuff. So on round 18, I went down and built the wind staff. I then went ahead and did all the upgrade steps for the wind staff. And then I went ahead and put the wind staff in the upgrade podium, just as I did with the ice staff. And what I did is I waited for the wind staff to be upgraded first, and then I would switch out the wind staff with the ice staff so that I didn't have to waste any time going to the bottom of excavation to then swap out the wind staff for the ice staff. I could just swap it out in the crazy place. This saves like a minuscule amount of time, maybe like a minute or something, but it was still worth it for me. So at this point I was almost set up. I was just looking around now in order to get my golden shovel, so I was just going around the map looking for dig sites. And on round 21 I managed to get my golden shovel. So now it was just a case of finding out where all my red perk bottles were. And on round 23, thanks to the help of a zombie blood, I managed to find out that my first red dig site was at Gen 3. But also while I'm doing all this for my extra perk slots, I'm also going around the map picking up the lightning staff parts. Now the reason for this is every 12 rounds or so, you are guaranteed to find drops in each of the lightning staff part places. And so this means later on, if you do miss out on a max ammo and you don't have any gen zombies coming up, then you can actually just ride the tank and pretty much pray that you get a max. And the odds are pretty good because you've got a 1 in 5 chance 3 times in order to get the max ammo. So anyway, at this point I did have all the staff pieces I needed, and now it was just a case of finding the rest of my dig sites. And around 25 I did manage to get another zombie blood, and I went to the dig site at Gen 3 and picked up my red perk bottle. And then luckily, as I was camping at generator 2 in this game, my next dig site actually showed up just in the tank path by Gen 2, exactly where I was camping. And on round 27, I got another zombie blood, and I got my red perk. And as I was camping at Generator 2 still, it didn't take me very long to get my third perk bottle, which I ended up finding on round 31, again around the Gen 2, Gen 3 area, which is absolutely insane. I don't think I've had all of my perk bottles around the same area before. And then on round 35, because my last perk bottle unfortunately wasn't around the Gen 2, Gen 3 area, I went up to the tank path on the Gen 6 area, and then I camped there until I got another zombie blood, and when I did, I went all the way to Gen 6, and I eventually got my 4th perk bottle. So for anybody wondering how you get all 9 perks on Origins, the trick is to get every single perk except for double tap, and then redeem your 30,000 points spending redemption from the little box in the spawn room, the challenge box, and that's how you get your 9th perk, which is exactly what I did here. So now that I was on round 37 and I had every perk, I was finally set up to start running the low rounds, but also kind of the mid to late rounds as well. And pretty much all the strategy involves is using the ice staff, a 3-shot charge shot of the ice staff, in order to kill the zombies and basically rinse and repeat. So, you know, it sounds easy enough. Why was I even worried in the first place? Well, that comes a bit later on, you see. Because on Origins, unlike most of the other maps, you cannot get a perfect drop cycle on Origins. And this is because you're guaranteed to have a zombie blood in your drop cycle. And what this means is you can only have 4 drops per round, but you have 5 drops in your cycle. So let's say, for example, you're on a brand new drop cycle, your chance to get a max ammo in that round is going to be 80%. And then if you manage to get the 80% chance of an ammo, that means that the following round you only have a 60% chance of ammo, and it keeps decreasing by 20% each time you get a max. So as you can imagine, if you manage to get a 20% chance of a max ammo, that means that the following round you are guaranteed to not get a max ammo. And now this is a problem, because you pretty much need a max ammo every single round from about round 75 to 80 plus. And this is where the generator zombies come in real handy. So the strategy is, up until round 80, just the same. You don't really need to worry that much about ammo, you'll be pretty much fine. Except for the fact that on round 54, I got a little bit confident dealing with a panzer that I didn't throw a monkey beforehand, and I paid the price for it with my life because I went down. And the reason I went down is because I didn't kill the panzer quick enough when it landed, and so it managed to get a flamethrower off, and as I was killing the zombies around me, those zombies had actually been hit by the flamethrower, causing them to explode right on top of me. And unfortunately, PhD doesn't actually stop those fire explosions, so yeah, it was just a rip. But anyway, I recovered pretty quickly, got all my perks back, and I was on to round 80 to 85 in no time at all. As for how I dealt with panzers from here on out, I would basically throw a monkey on one of the rounds he might come, so he would arrive every 4 to 5 rounds. So if he came on the 4th round, I would throw a second monkey afterwards, but if he came on the 5th round, I would then have wasted a monkey on the 4th round, but that's okay, because I can then just throw 2 more monkeys, and I should be getting a max ammo on those rounds anyway. And this was just to ensure that I could solely focus on the panzer, and not have to worry about the zombies surrounding me as I'm killing him. And since the Mark II just absolutely melts him, that wasn't that much of an issue. But anyway, going back on track now to how to get max ammos on like 80, 85 plus pretty much every round. So, for those of you who don't know, if you only have 3 generators switched on, you will not get those annoying little generator zombies. But, those annoying little generator zombies are actually really useful, because when you kill them at a generator, they will actually give you a max ammo. However, this is only the case if you don't kill them while the ice staff is out in front of you. You can, however, shoot a charge shot of the ice staff and then switch to either a different weapon or claymores, and you will be able to get the max ammo from them. And so you can pretty much see where I'm going with this. Now, because I had been unlucky the whole game, where I would get a 60% chance of ammo and then miss it, and then sometimes I would then get a double ammo on the 40% chance and then miss an ammo on the 20% chance, which is very unlucky, by the way. But because I had missed so many 60% chances of ammo, what I would do is I would switch on a 4th generator, because that's the condition needed for the generator zombies to actually appear, and I would switch them on at the end of the round on an 80% chance of a max ammo. This is, of course, unless I miss an 80% chance of ammo, which thankfully didn't happen to me past round 80. It did, however, happen to me in like the 50s or 60s, where I missed an 80, got the double chance of 60, missed the 40, got the double chance of 20, and then I think I had like 1 or 2 no ammo rounds after that or something. It was really bad. But anyway, as I was saying, generator zombies are really good because they can give you a max ammo. But unfortunately for me, I didn't actually end up missing any 60% chances of ammo past 80, which meant I had these generator zombies on kind of for no reason. However, there is a little bit of a trick you can use with the generator zombies to make them last a little bit longer. And since I was unfortunately getting better luck than I had anticipated, what I would be doing is whenever the gen zombies were attacking a gen 2, I would throw a monkey bomb just as they were about to take the generator, and that lures them away from the generator itself, and the generator will actually repair itself back to before it was even damaged. And so at this point I was just extending the generator zombies' lives so that I could use the max ammo whenever I needed it most. There is one major drawback to doing this though, and that is whenever you have generator zombies on the map, it actually takes those zombies away from the zombies in the horde. So for example, you would normally have 24 zombies in a horde of zombies, but because there are 4 generator zombies, that means there is only going to be 20 zombies that you're killing at any one time with the ice staff. Now, you might not think that's that big of a deal, but believe me, in the later rounds, it absolutely shows. Another quick thing to note about the generator zombies is that they can only be triggered every 3 to 5 rounds. And so the best thing you can do is once you've had the generator zombies, you let them take at least one of the generators. And so this way you can actually kind of control when you get them next, so you can have them when you kind of need them. Instead of like leaving them on and then you accidentally get a 3-rounder when you kind of needed a 5-rounder because you end up spawning the generator zombies when you have a 100% chance of ammo the next round. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the war machine. This war machine is an absolute beast when it comes to insta-kills. And so when I would normally get maybe 70 to 90 kills on an insta-kill, I was getting probably close to 150 kills for every insta-kill because I was using the war machine. Which basically meant I had 2 less hordes of zombies every single round whenever I got an insta-kill. Anyway, things were going really well from the late rounds onwards, all the way up until round 95. And this down basically came because I was a total fucking idiot. Like, I had the biggest brain fart here that I think I've ever had when playing zombies. It was absolutely insane. Because what I was trying to do is I basically calculated all the percentages at this point, and I knew I needed a chest max ammo on round 95, and it would pretty much guarantee me that I would only need 1 more gen zombie round to round 100. I was perfectly fine. So as I was going to get the chest max ammo, I accidentally picked the wrong symbol, and I got the Pack-a-Punch weapon for the 115 headshots. Now, I didn't trade my weapons out or anything, but I was quite a bit flustered, and basically I kind of forgot what I was doing, and because I didn't think quick enough to throw my monkey, I tried doing like cutbacks and stuff in the first room, and I just got trapped by the box, and that was a down for me. And now this really sucked, because although I did go back and eventually grab the chest max ammo, I no longer had my perks, including PhD, and this was because I wanted to make sure that I got the generator zombies when I needed them. And looking back, I think this is because I was having a chance of a double max ammo chance on round 96, which meant I really didn't want generator zombies coming on round 96, because that would make it a triple max ammo round. It would have been ridiculous. So I was trying my best in order to not switch on any of the generators. Oh, another little tip as well is I would always make sure that the generators, the 3 generators I would have on before getting a 4th generator on for gen zombies the next round, would be gen 1, 4 and 5. And this is for the, in my opinion, the 3 most important perks in the map, which is Quick Revive, Juggernog and Stamina Up. So on round 96, I only got 1 max ammo, which was really good, because again, that meant I had a chance of double max on 40, and I could still control when my generator zombies were coming. However, I also got an insta-kill, and because I didn't have PhD anymore, I was trying to be a bit more careful, but I wasn't careful enough, and I ended up taking another down on 96. So at this point I just said, screw it, I'm switching all the gens on. I want to make sure that I have that safety, Quick Revive, so if I do end up taking another down later on, it's not a permanent death. And I would rather be a little bit slower by even just 30 minutes than to have to redo the entire 4 hours. So that's what I did. I got all my perks back, swapping out Speed Cola for Quick Revive. And the reason you have to do this, by the way, is because if you have Electric Cherry and Quick Revive left in the machine, for example, the Wonder Fizz, you are way more likely to get Electric Cherry than you are to get Quick Revive. And so it's way more worthwhile to just drop Speed Cola, because then you've basically got a 50-50 chance if you pick up Electric Cherry to either get Quick Revive or Speed Cola from the Wonder Fizz machine. But anyway, I now got Gen Zombies on round 97, which kind of sucked. And on round 98, I actually ended up completely running out of ammo. And it meant I had to basically let the generator zombies completely die out. Because believe it or not, if you just let the gen zombies die out at a generator, and you don't hit them or anything, they will just leave a max ammo where they died, which is pretty cool. And thankfully, I did get my guaranteed max ammo on round 98, and I did not get the double chance of ammo on round 98 with the 20% chance of it, which meant I was still guaranteed an ammo on round 99. So I got incredibly lucky there. I barely managed to finish round 99 with the ice staff ammo I had. But the really cool thing is, even if I didn't have enough ammo to finish round 99, I still had the 3 potential max ammos from the tank drops from the lightning staff parts. I also still had full wind staff ammo in an upgraded wind staff, and I could also, in an emergency, still run the tank strategy, and also there were still dig sites to be dug up which could have contained a max ammo as well. So really, I was kind of worried for no reason on round 95. I should have just played it normally. I should have just thrown a monkey, but it is what it is. I did manage to get to round 100, and it took me a total time of 4 hours, 24 minutes and 10 seconds. And I did thankfully manage to do it in my very first attempt past 50. And bear in mind, this is the one map I thought that was going to take me quite a few attempts on BO2, so I was really happy to get this done. And with Origins complete, that marked the entirety of Black Ops 2 done within only 3 days. Thank you guys so much for watching. These videos make a really long time to make, so I really appreciate you watching them. And if you did enjoy it, be sure to drop a like, subscribe for more content like this, and be sure to send this video to a friend, because it'll help this video gain some more traction, all that kind of stuff. So if you do want to see more of these types of videos, be sure to do all of that. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later, so peace.